Yo, what's good? It's Mangodog. You're watching Underworld Voices.
So you told me you grew up in the Caribbean. So what part of the Caribbean did you grow up in, and what do you love about the culture there?
So I grew up in Trinidad and Tobago. I was born in St. Petersburg, Florida, but my parents are Trini. So I spent a long time out there, growing up as a kid, back and forth. I just love, I love the food. Trini food is amazing. I love just like the people too are very warm. It's a lot of like mixture in Trinidad. You got a lot of East Indian influence and a lot of Creole influence. So it's like pretty cool. You have all types of like people with different color, complexions and shit, and it's like, it has a rich history. Yeah.
And so has being from this part of the world influenced your art at all, your music?
Yeah, I think so, a lot. And I think it took me a while to realize it, because back when I was a kid, I honestly didn't really get it, because I was just a kid, just trying to find my place in the world. But then after like getting older, living in America for a longer time, like I feel like it really kind of affected my music and my whole energy as a person. It's very down to earth, just very raw, just in the moment.
When you got to the States, you started spending more time here. How did that begin influencing your art and your music?
I think so. So like basically around that time, like I had a best friend when I was 16, and he kind of introduced me to like hardcore music and punk music. And I've always been into the sound of the guitar. Trini, there's a lot of like calypso, soca, reggae. My granddad was a steel drum player. But like my ear was always for like guitar. So just like I would get into like, it's a lot of guitar, be listening to a lot of punk, going to hardcore shows. But then still like, I feel like I always had that kind of like Caribbean soul. So like sometimes people wonder where the energy comes from. It's from that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What were some of the first things you started learning on guitar?
So I remember just like, from a kid, the first thing was like hymns, like old Catholic hymns. But then like really quickly I got into just riffs. So there was this band called like 1,000 Foot Crutch.
Okay.
And they had just like a lot of like kind of campy like guitar punk songs. And so I remember I would just like look up, there was a website called Guitar Pro where they would have the guitar tabs. And so I'd just be in my room just like playing the song in my headphones. I had the CD player and just like with the tabs, the guitar tabs printed, just like riffing along.
Awesome, gotcha.
Yeah.
And how has your sound evolved over time?
I think it's evolved like pretty good. I feel like now I'm making like the sound that like I've always wanted to create. It's like I was born to create this. It took a lot of like turns, a lot of corners, because like I was saying, like the hardcore, like punk background, then I got into some folk music, and just like, then I got into jazz, and just kind of like really being inspired by just all like forms of music and art, Like I think like probably like 5 years ago, I would have like said I wasn't even into country music, but now over time, like my ear just started to open to just seeing all genres as like, art. And so now when I even like create a song, like I'm not really boxing myself into a certain genre. It's just like everything that I've kind of like opened my ears up to and immersed myself in, it kind of somehow comes out in my music.
Cool, man. How did you meet Miyagi and get connected with Death Proof all those years?
The Miyagi lore. Yo, so I'm trying to figure out how to make long stories short just for the sake of time.
As long as it needs to
Yeah.
be told.
All right, cool. I'm gonna share the full Miyagi story. So basically, this is a crazy story. So about like 2 years ago, right, I didn't even know who like NASCAR Aloe was. And so I'm a big believer in just like, I'm not religious, just spiritual. I believe in manifesting and stuff. So around then, like some weird shit was happening in my life. And I remember like somebody introduced me to my homie Jeremiah, told me about NASCAR Aloe. He was like, yo, you should check this artist out. His videos are sick. And Jeremiah also shot some videos of me also. And so we met at Washington Square Park, and he was showing me the videos. And I was like, yo, this is hard. And me practicing like manifestation, I was like, I feel like I'm gonna meet this kid one day. And like, I was just saying that out into the universe. And then I went to LA for the first time 2 years ago, the street perform. I didn't know anybody. And then I happened to walk on like my downtown. I like walked into this shop called Pop Shop LA. And then like, I just like walked up to the first person I met. I was like, yo, your clothes is cool. Like, did you make this? And then he was kind of like giving me the eye. He was like, what type of question is that? Like, and I was like, yo, chill, it's just good vibes. And so anyways, long story short, like he ended up being the owner, and then we ended up just chopping it up and chilling, right? And then he was like, yeah, like there's this artist called NASCAR Aloe again. He came up and I was like, yo, this is crazy. I was just talking about him. He was like, yeah, he lives around here, it's a cool guy, whatever. He chills at my shop once in a while. And then so like a year later, like I was just like, pushing my stuff on Instagram, like boosting posts and stuff. And then Miyagi hits me up. And then he's like, yo, I saw like your video, it was the one clip, me at Market Hotel, like just like wilding in front of the window, the train's passing. And he was like that's how we connected. Like, so he kind of found me. And then he told me like, yo, I used to manage for NASCAR Aloe, and then I run like, a independent label called Death Proof Records, and we'd love to like, like help you, and I'd love to like manage you if you're open to it. But it was very organic. First we just started talking about music because he makes music too, I make music, and then it kind of hit him. He was like, oh, like, do you need a manager? And so that's how that happened, but it was like, I feel like I kind of manifested that whole thing.
So you kind of touched on spirituality, manifestation.
Yeah.
So what other areas in your life have you manifested things, or what are your views on spirituality, the world around us?
I mean, that's like a good question. So actually, people might not know this. I don't know if it's too soon to let the lore out, but like, so I grew up as a pastor's kid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so that's part of like how I grew up traveling with my parents. They were doing ministry. And so that kind of gave me like a really, like, I was neck deep in like Christianity, But as a kid, I would always feel like connected spiritually, but a little bit lost as far as, because like religion and all like the politics, like I would never really be like fucking with it too much. I'll just be always skeptical, like, are y'all for real? Like, just have all these questions. So as I got older, I started to branch out and just kind of really explore my faith like on my own outside of the church. And I feel like that kind of helped me to feel just more connected to God in like a general sense. Like I see God now as just energy, and that we could all kind of like tap in our own way. So I'm still not religious, but I'm aware of how Christianity perhaps influenced my spirituality, but it's a lot more like just like open, I'm not really a churchy type of person. And I feel like in my lowest times in life, I've been like depressed before plenty of times, and I've been at rock bottom, and I just remember just like in my heart just kind of trying to like talk to God, and then I would have revelations and shit, and like weird stuff would happen, like synchronicities would start to happen. I would like meet people like outside of music. I've had so many synchronicities, and I credit that to like my view on spirituality, Because for me, I believe like God is all around. It's just like how to like hear and how to see, and I think that comes through people, through places, we just have to be open to it.
Awesome. What does DIY mean to you?
That's DIY. It's everything to me right now. Like the do-it-yourself like approach. Like when I started, like even till now, like I'm looking for like, I'm just a starving artist at the end of the day. Like yeah, like I feel like my music has been picking up, but I'm just like on the ground with everyone. I'm under the 99% out here, and like so many times in the past, like people used to like dub me, reject me. Till this day, like I just kind of like have I'm just like all about empowerment, and just like just self-empowered, self-motivated. Like it's hard. I wish sometimes that the industry like showed me more love, but right now like I just kind of give love to myself a lot, saying like, you know, whatever, I could do this, I'm gonna do this. People reject me, I don't care, I believe in what I have. And then also the community is huge, the underground community is huge, you know, and it's great to connect with people because we're all just on the same grind. And I think that like, of lately, my experiences, it's just been a lot of love, you know? And that's really inspiring to me to just keep going. Because my biggest inspiration at the end of the day, sometimes, is just like knowing that there's like a hell of a lot of other artists out here grinding just as hard as me and just like not giving up. And that's the thing that kind of like inspires me to keep going.
Awesome. So what's it like performing on the street versus the stage? Which do you prefer?
So honestly, I prefer the street.
Okay.
Yeah, I love like street performing. You know, what got me into it was just like, it was just like a means to an end because like back then I wasn't getting booked for shows. Like it was just open mics, and then open mics, it wasn't like a good way for me to get exposure. It was just other artists who would be listening to my music and, you know, which is cool, I'm grateful for that, but it wasn't like new people. And like the streets like taught me how to like just like bring the energy on my own, because sometimes I pull up, there's nobody there on the streets. I'll be turning up and then people will be like, yo, who's that? Like, what's going on over there? And then they come over, you know? So like, I don't, like now, like even like, I have more shows now, I don't even have to be on the streets, but like it definitely taught me to bring the energy before anyone does. And then like, every once in a while when I have the time, I pop back out on the streets. And also with the streets, it's just like, you're one with nature. You never know what to expect. You're kind of putting yourself out there, and it's like, I feel like it's less of an ego thing. You know, it's like therapy. It's like cool. Like I highly recommend it to anybody to try it. It's great.
So a lot of your videos and your visuals have a cinematic element to them. Do you have a love for movies? And if so, what are your inspirations, favorite movies, directors, anything of that sort?
Yeah, like I love film, you know, like I'm bad at like quoting, like I'm bad with names, bad at like quotes and stuff, but like there was a time in my life when I was depressed where I honestly was gonna quit music and I still wanna do something creative, and I was like, oh, let me check out like film school and stuff like that. Cause I was depressed and I would go to the library and just like borrow like, for a while, when I was depressed back in Florida, I would do like a film a day. Like, you know, just go down the list of directors. So I got into like, you know, the classics, all the film school people, you know. I got into like Tarantino, like Tarkovsky, like all like the big directors that just go through and watch everything that they've done, or most of what they've done. So I think like for my videos, a lot of times like I kind of like to work with other artists since it's more of collaborative. Like, you know, I worked with, shout outs Tormenta, you know, who is also like a film person, and then my boy like Jeremiah, like who's also a film person. And I think for me, even though I do love film and I have my own inspirations, collaboratively, I just like working with people who I trust. So that way they get something out of it, they get to try out their creative ideas, and my music could be like a canvas. And every once in a while, like, you know, if I have like a cool visual in my mind, we could kind of bounce off each other, but I kind of really love to give people creative freedom. Some of my favorite films are Taxi Driver. There was another one, Mandy, with Nicolas Cage. And then like, I like The Seventh Seal. Like those are my three favorites. And there's a lot of like others too, but I mean, I don't want to just sit here and name drop films all day, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. What advice would you give to people just starting out in music, creating art, who haven't really taken that step to put their work out there? Maybe they're like self-conscious, they need to take that first step. What would you tell that person?
My advice is to just go for it, you know? Go for it. It took me a while. I've been making music for, honestly, no cap, like over 20 years now. So I've learned a lot along the way. And you know, everybody's on their own like timeline, but like some of the stuff that I used to trip over, like a big one when I was like in my teens was just like, you know, like focusing on trying to be like someone else. Like I would look at like guitar players who would shred, I'll be like, man, I suck because I can't shred. And I would just spend all my time and energy trying to get as good as they were. And I'll be frustrated. And then as I got older, you know, I still can't like shred like Hendrix and stuff, you know, but like I just kind of like started to focus on the things that I'm good at. I'm like, for me, I've always had a good ear for melody. So now it's like, you know, like, hey, I just do whatever I like and whatever I love, me as Mango. You know, the rest of the stuff, people who want to like critique me and judge me based on whatever it is, I don't give a fuck anymore. And so I think like for anybody starting off, I want to like jump in, like just jump in and, you know, don't care about people's opinions. You know, if you believe in what you do, just go for it. And you're gonna just naturally, as humans, like we always grow and progress. That's a real thing. So once you're like diligently about your art and your craft, like that's the first step, and you can relax and just keep applying yourself every day, and naturally you're gonna get better, you know? Like, and so for me, I recommend, even if it's like, hey, a show opportunity comes and somebody might think like, yo, I'm not good enough, like, I don't know, this is crazy, maybe I should practice more. Maybe you should, but also too, the fact that you got that opportunity, maybe just seize the moment and just like, you know, learn as you go. That's my biggest thing, learn as you go.
Awesome. So what do you want your legacy to be as an artist and as a human being?
Man, I think for my legacy, I just wanted to just be like, you know, I just want to inspire like the next generation, you know, like, as I said, like, you know, I've been doing this for a long time and I've had my battles facing rejection and I never had it easy. So, you know, I'm pushing hard, like hopefully I get to a place where I'm able to live off my art and stuff like that, you know? But like, in my mind, if I never got there, if at least somebody could hear my story and like, you know, my story is coming up as an underdog and just kind of putting myself on first before anybody else did. Like if I could just inspire like, you know, the next generation or even like somebody now who's just like, might just be like I consider myself a nobody, you know, I'm just like a starving artist, I'm a 99%er, you know, but if I could inspire somebody else to keep going, I'll be able to rest in peace, you know. And back when I was a kid, especially as like I'd say this, as a black alt artist, there was, at the time when I was a kid, there wasn't like a ton of people doing it, you know. All of my posters would be people who didn't look like me, you know, but like I was just thought they were sick. So if in the future, you know, especially for my kids, you know, like they could just like see more artists like who look like them, who are just like free to do different genres and do whatever they want as an artist, like, and they hear my story, I'm okay with that. You know, it isn't about fame for me. It isn't about like clout, you know, it isn't about like the whole like lifestyle really. It's for me, it's just more about the art, you know, it's just strictly about the art.
All right, so lastly, tell us about any projects or anything you got coming up that you want people to know about.
Yeah, so right now I'm working on my first like debut like self-produced project. I think I'm gonna call it Silver Rose. Should be just like a handful of songs. Yeah, honestly it's up to me to when I'm gonna drop it, because right now I just gotta finish the lyrics for some of them, and then I gotta get into mixing mode, and that's it. So hopefully by summertime it should be out. I'm hoping, and then once that's done, I want to get back to my single game. You know, I've built like my fan base through like consistently dropping singles. So I'm looking forward to getting back to putting out more singles once this project is out, and hopefully collabing with some more artists like Clearjaw, Ali Shrugs, and like, you know, people have been hitting me up to collab. So I'm open to it, but just right now I'm just kind of like locked in with this project.
Awesome, man. Appreciate your time.
Yo, thank you so much. Shout out to Tormenta, the homie.
All right.
Yeah.